I was all set up to spend the next few days just trying to get through as many of the indie games in my backlog. I didn't want to do any more design or industry videos in the meantime, but then something seems to always come up that demands my attention. So, for today's critical thought, we're going to talk about why harassing and sending threats to a developer about content you don't like is not a good thing, and why it really goes beyond in terms of what is fair criticism. Alright, so I think this may be one of my shorter videos, because this is a topic that is kind of a cut and dry when we talk about. But if you missed the news, Boyfriend Dungeon was released last week by Kitfox Games. It is a visual novel slash roguelike style game. There should be a review going up either before or after this video goes up here. But in the game, there are content warnings right at the start about content such as stalking, harassment, and things like that. And you have to opt in to play the game. And I guess as a minor spoiler, one of the major plot threads in Boyfriend Dungeon involves a character who essentially stalks the main character, very creepy, very pervasive, and it's a major part of the plot of the game that you have to deal with this, and things come to light because of it. Well, even with that said, a lot of people have gone after Kitfox Games over the last week, sending them threatening messages, attacking the voice actor, and just being very vile about this bit of the game. And one of the things that they're saying is that they want this content to either be skippable or just outright removed because they don't like it. And there is a ton of red flags that go with that statement. And there are several points I want to talk about why this is wrong in this video. So, the first one is a very simple one. It's a video game. Video games are not required to be played. This is one of the things that we've spoken a lot about when it comes to core gameplay loops and audience. That at the end of the day, a video game is catered towards a specific market or a specific kind of player. And while you want to make your game as open as possible, there are always limits to that. If you make a platformer and somebody buys your game and then starts yelling at you saying, "How dare you make me do jumps onto platforms?" there's nothing you can do about that. And it is up to the developer to tell the story that they want to tell, whether it's something you agree with or you disagree with. Some of this was also lending itself into the whole wholesome games discussion, which that is another rant entirely that I don't really want to get into today. But Kitfox gave everybody a warning about, and if you say yes that you agree to it in the content warning, then you agreed to do that. And when consumers are able to, or consumers can complain about content, they can engage or disengage with a video game as much as they see fit. But the line is when you start attacking or making demands on a developer. Because like I said, ultimately, it is a developer's discretion what they want to include or not include in a game. And Kitfox wanted to tell this story. And whether you like it or dislike it is beyond the point. If you don't want it, don't play the game. And this is really drawing parallels to kind of the whole get good, or again, the discussion about difficulty and challenge in games. If you want to play a game like Dark Souls, but you don't want any challenge or anything like that, then you don't want to play Dark Souls. Just like how I don't want to play racing sims, or stealth games, or sport games, or any kind of simulator style games. The point is, it is not up to me or you to dictate what somebody can or cannot make. You can say, I don't want to buy your game because I'm not a fan of platformers, or I find the storyline to be too much for me. That is well within your right. But when you start to demand, when you start to attack people over that decision, is when you cross that line. And that takes me to a second point that I want to mention here. The market is ultimately the final judge on this matter. If somebody wants to make the most repugnant, sexually explicit, YouTube demod just hits everything on that list kind of game, it is within their right to make it. Just as within the right for somebody to make a game like Gone Home, or The Last of Us 2, or, I don't know, Mario, if somebody finds Mario offensive. The point is that ultimately the market will dictate what games succeed, and by extension, what design trends are in and which ones are not. If somebody decides to make that very explicit game, and there are a lot of them on Steam, you don't have to buy them. You can say, I don't want to buy this game because I find this offensive. Again, that is within your right. But you can't go to Steam or go to a developer and demand that they take it off or change content that you don't like. But on the other side of that, if you are the developer making that game and you put it out there on Steam and it does not earn enough money to either sustain development or keep making that, you can't then turn around and say, oh, it's because people complain about it. It simply means that the market doesn't sustain that kind of design. But the other side of this, if you're the consumer and you don't like something and you tell your friends not to buy it and they don't buy it, but the game becomes on the top 10 list on Steam and starts the trend of more of those games in the future, that's it. You can't do anything more about that. You're going to take that L and just not engage with that level of content. And again, nobody is forcing these games on people. And I think Kitfox, for having content warnings in their game, definitely went above and beyond what we see other developers will do when it comes to polarizing or very disturbing displays of content. But it wasn't enough for some people, and they are going to change or they're going to update that content warning, and that is perfectly fair to ask. But again, demanding that because you don't like something or that offends you, that a developer must take it out and you're going to send them threats or send the voice actors threats. And that's definitely not okay, to go after voice actors and people like that because you don't like the content of a game. And I could certainly rant and rave about that for a few minutes. That kind of stuff is not warranted. It is very much disgusting, and it certainly reeks of extreme levels of entitlement, to think that you can control what somebody else is doing like that. And I didn't really want to make this video, but when I heard that Kitfox and the people around them are getting threats over this, that is a step too far. As we say, there is a right and a wrong way to deliver criticism and comments. And as a consumer, if you don't like something, you can say that. You can say that you find something that it's a little too traumatic and you don't want to experience it. But when you take it to that next step and demand that it gets changed, and if it doesn't get changed, you're going to attack somebody or you're going to harass somebody, then you're not helping the situation. And again, this is something that I think we're far beyond the point of having to keep explaining this. And if you want to say on one hand that games are art and, let developers do what they want, you're going to have to take that with content that you may not particularly agree with. I have no intention of playing the many H-related games on Steam. But guess what? It is not within my place to declare that they should not be allowed to be made. Just like how if somebody wants to make a game that features, multiple women or female characters or have LGBTQ plus stories, they are allowed to make those games. And if it doesn't work for you, don't play it. Again, nobody's being forced to play these video games. And to demand that somebody change something to cater to you is just beyond the pale. So really, that's all I want to say on the topic. And I do want to send some well wishes to Kitfox Games. I hope everyone is doing well there. And hopefully this will be settled very quickly. But thank you for watching this critical thought. As always, be sure to check out the Discord and Patreon, do all the liking and subscribing, and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where examine the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.